Hey Aries, this is Perrymore Tarot's weekend reading from June 21st through the 23rd, 2024. This is for Aries, last shuffle for Aries. So this weekend, you have the Sacred Temple and you have Ascended Masters. So for a lot of you, you're going to be focused more on where you're meant to be. Am I meant to be here? Wherever you go, you may be questioning this whole thing. Like, is this where I was supposed to stand? Am I supposed to be talking to these people? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? A lot of your decisions will be based on whether or not you're meant to say it or hear it or something. A lot of your messages will be coming through spirit this weekend. There's so many things that will be said to you that were meant to be said, words that will be meant to be spoken, songs you'll meant to be heard, like that are meant to be heard, certain things, commercials, anything, things that are spoken through media will be meant for you. There's a lot of signs and synchronicities in media, okay? Especially while you're by yourself. It won't be something like, sometimes it'll be the whole group, right? But it'll be something only you heard. You might be like, did you hear that? And they're like, not really. I mean, you'd be like, did you not hear this? And if you're in a group of people or with a group of people. So we have the Sacred Temple, Knight of Swords, Temperance, the World, okay, Hermit. So the Sacred Temple speaks a lot about you being alone, what you are, things that you're meant to hear, things that you're meant to see, things that you're meant to say, people are meant to say to you. A lot of this will be giving you closure in a situation. A lot of these things will require you to be quite patient. This will be there's a lot of closure. Whatever this is, it might be a sign for you that you're on the right path. Not only that, you're right to put a stop to something or end something or get out of a situation or to progress. These are messages that help you to progress or add to your knowledge or add to something as well. Ascended Masters is the World and Four of Swords, also to give you peace of mind. You may feel like this is not meant for you. You may misunderstand the message or you misunderstood it before. So this would be like the best example I could say is that sometimes when you're reading scripture, I know for me, and I know I always tell my personal stories or whatever, but when I was younger, and my grandmother was extremely Christian, okay, and my grandfather was extremely spiritual. So I grew up in a very tight knit West Indian culture, and so you had one who was like doing magic, and another one who was like Jesus is the magic, right? And so I got to learn so much about both because I was just so enmeshed in getting to understand them. But I remember reading scripture and not really understanding anything about it. But when my grandfather would teach me about astrology, I was like, oh, wow, drinking that in, right? And as I got older, I started to understand it more. And each time it was like I would compound on the knowledge. So Spirit kind of showed me through magic that I needed to ask for understanding before I read. So this would be that kind of energy. Like I literally, it was told to me to ask for it, like ask for the clarity, ask for the mind to understand, ask for the ears to hear, the eyes to see. And I would ask for it before I read. And then I would get a totally different understanding than what like a preacher would say. She wasn't a Baptist, she was like Episcopalian. So it would be, basically, I don't even know the hierarchy in that church, to be honest. I went with her a few times and it was scary to me because it was like fashioned after a Catholic church. But and then I grew up to become something totally different, which is funny. But however it goes, I understood differently from how anyone else would interpret it. They would interpret something or cherry pick certain things, and I'd be like, oh, that's what that means. But then I would read it for myself, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me at all. So this is the vibe of not understanding something very much at one point, and then hearing something that ties it all together this weekend. So it's not necessarily scripture. I'm not seeing organized religion or any kind of religious anything or spirituality, but there's something that you may have wanted to understand more. But when you were younger and as you're older, it's like, oh, now that makes sense. Like a phrase that your family would say, or someone would tell you. They're older, you're younger, and they're telling you, don't, don't sweep the dust straight out the door. You could be sweeping out your good fortune. You're like, what? why would my fortune be on the floor, and why would it be so small it's in dust? You know, it's the kind of little thing that maybe you would understand now. And this says, now that you understand it, it gives you such a great peace of mind. And also, too, to know that you completely misunderstood it before. You may have a completely different understanding of what this means now, right? So deception, wow, King of Pentacles and the Eight of Wands. So there's something that happens where someone is going to communicate or act in a certain way that does not compute. It is completely misunderstood, and you'll understand it more as you get the signs and synchronicities later on in the weekend. So this is an event. This is something that happens where, if it's a King of Pentacles with the Eight of Wands, this means that someone is acting off of their knowledge, acting off of their wisdom, and it's wholly misunderstood, completely misunderstood. So this will be cleared up, especially as you ask questions. They're going to explain it, and then for once it clicks. Maybe it didn't click before. That does not make any sense, grandma or grandpa, or it doesn't make sense to so and so, whoever it is, and boom, all of a sudden the way they explain it, you're like, oh my gosh, the whole time I've been misunderstanding this. Fear is the Star and Seven of Cups. Some of you may be afraid of the unknown. Some of you may feel like you were healed before or healing before, and it didn't go the way that you thought. Or if you're on the path of healing something, maybe before you say sometimes this could be like therapy. You go to therapy, you're like, I'm trying to heal, and it got worse or something, or maybe you felt worse after you went through whatever it was. Like, say you do whatever it is, it could be Reiki healing, it could be anything. You're just like, oh man, I feel so much worse after this time is not going to be that way. Spirit's like, if you're searching for healing or recovery, this time you will find it through very mysterious means. It won't be like it was before. If you tried to do something and it didn't work, or you just, like sometimes healing, what I have to say about healing is that it does not go the way that you think sometimes. And sometimes healing means you have to dig in that wound a little bit more to clean it out, right? And it brings up things that you're like, man, I thought I was going to be on an upswing, and it takes you down a little further so that you can come, bounce back up. You have to hit rock bottom, kind of thing. So healing doesn't always look like smiles and a light heart and whatnot. Sometimes healing looks like, I'm so disgusted that I even put up with that. I'm disgusted that anyone would treat anyone like the way that I was treated. It's disgusting. Like, you would be disgusted, I know with healing for me, especially too, and I have Aries, a lot of Aries in my chart, to be honest. So healing for me was painful because I finally looked at myself and was like, why was I even putting up with that? Like, why was I even dealing with this? And so also it brings up a lot of, it brings up a lot of disgust. It brings up a lot of grief because you're grieving the person that was treated the way you were treated. You look back at yourself going, oh my gosh, you poor thing. You were only 25. You didn't know. You were only 18. You were only this age. And someone really played with your game, played games with you, played with your mind. Wow. The nerve of a person. Brings up anger, brings up a lot of stuff. So some of you may be on the path to healing and think it's going to go a certain way, and they're saying you're going to heal in ways you didn't expect. It might even be a commercial that comes on, and it's like just something that someone says in that commercial is like, wow, now I finally get it. All right, let me get on up. So you could be dealing with the Capricorn really strongly. We also have Aquarius, Virgo, and Sagittarius. You also could be dealing with a Libra or a Gemini. So you could be dealing with a Virgo Libra cusp, or a Capricorn Aquarius cusp. You don't have to be dealing, or Sagittarius Capricorn cusp. If you're not dealing with those signs, you don't have to be. Those signs could also be in your chart. If you'd like to book a personal reading with me, my links are on my page. Peace, love, and light. Take care.